Hello, my name is Apurva Samanto. I welcome you to LearnerBuddy. Today, we will learn something basic on robotic process automation that is well known as RPA. Let us take a look on the contents of today. Today, we will learn what is RPA, types of RPA bots, evolution of RPA, benefits of RPA, what we can do with the RPA bot, RPA market trends, RPA tools and leaders in the market, RPA job market, RPA business use cases, selection of a process for RPA, rank of processes to automate, and at the last, we will focus on RPA life cycle. The first question which comes to our mind when we hear the term RPA is, what is RPA? RPA is an acronym for Robotic Process Automation. Rather, we can say RPA is a summation of three terms: robotic, process, and automation. Let us understand these three terms one by one. Robotic is nothing but when an entity is able to mimic the same actions or can perform the same actions like a human, then that entity is called robotic. While process is a sequence or a collection of steps or a sub-processes which are performed to achieve a particular task or which can be performed to do a certain activity or a meaningful activity. And automation is nothing but when a particular process or a sequence of steps can be performed without any human intervention, then we can term this thing as automation. Now, if we look at the right side of our screen, then we can see one robot is sitting in front of its computer. So here we are showing that human labor has been replaced by a robot. But when we talk about RPA, we are not talking about any physical robot. We only talk about software robots because physical robots are not the part of RPA. So here the software robots will be placed inside a local system or a virtual machine or a cloud system. So these are the things related to the definition of RPA. So now we know the definition of RPA, but we need to know what RPA actually is and what RPA actually isn't. Let us take a look at what RPA actually is. Any computer coded software that is capable of doing rule-based and repetitive tasks that can be termed as RPA. Any programs that replace humans performing repetitive rule-based tasks can be considered as RPA. Any cross-functional and cross-application macros that are also termed as RPA. Now, let us have a look at what RPA isn't. Any working or talking Autobots, those are not considered in RPA. Any physically existing machines or robots that are also not considered in RPA, like any robots which are processing papers, any car washing robots, any robots that are assembling any machine parts, so those are not considered in RPA. Any artificial intelligence or voice recognition and reply software, that is also not considered in the scope of RPA. So let us check the types of RPA bot. There are three types of RPA bots. First one is attended, second one is unattended, and the third one is hybrid bot. Let us check one by one. Attended bot. As the name suggests, attended bot is that bot which needs human attention or intervention or interaction or any human user input. Means this bot is not able or is not capable of doing a whole process by its own. It needs any human intervention during the process. That's why it's called attended bot. On the other hand, unattended bot are those bots which doesn't need any human intervention or any human interaction during the whole process. Any process can be done by the unattended bot itself. So that's why it is called unattended bot. It doesn't need any human interaction during the whole process. Hybrid bot. Hybrid bot is a combination of attended bot and unattended bot. Let's suppose we are having a particular unique process or a single process which has two subparts. One part, that is the part 1, that needs a human intervention, and the second part doesn't need any human intervention. So the first part will be done on the attended mode, means one attended bot will be deployed to do the first part alongside with the human workforce, but the second part of that particular process will be done by the unattended bot because the second part doesn't need any human intervention. So the complete setup of the bots, because those are included in a unique process or a single process, is known as hybrid robot or hybrid bot in RPA. So let us check the evolution of RPA over the period of time. Till now, we are having 4 RPA phases. So the 4 phases are named as RPA 1.0, that is assisted RPA, RPA 2.0, that is unassisted RPA, RPA 3.0, that is called autonomous RPA, and RPA 4.0, that is the current phase, that is called cognitive RPA. So let us take a look on the features, pros and cons of all the phases what we have faced till now. The objective of RPA 1.0 was improving worker productivity, means one bot was needed to work alongside with the human workforce. So that's why in RPA 1.0 we used attended robots alongside with the human workers. The deployment of these bots were inside the worker desktop, and there are the limitations. So limitations are like partial automations because we couldn't do end-to-end automation in RPA 1.0 phase, and it was difficult to scale. After that, we were into a phase of RPA 2.0, that is called unassisted RPA. Here our objective was end-to-end automation because in the first phase we missed this part and we needed scalable and virtual workers. So here the deployment were inside servers, means the VMs, means virtual machine. The features were like work orchestration, means scheduling and queuing, all these things were from a centralized portal, and centralized robot management system were there also, and robot performance and analytics were just. So there was also some limitations. So like manual control and management of robots, managing screen and system changes, all these things were the limitations from RPA 2.0. After 2.0, we had a phase of RPA 3.0, that is called autonomous RPA. The objective of autonomous RPA was end-to-end automation, and also in the second phase also we have seen the end-to-end automation. And another objective was scalable and flexible virtual workforce. Here, the deployment were inside the VMs, in virtual machines, and SaaS. SaaS stands for Software as a Service. This is a software licensing and delivery model where the software was provided based on some subscription license and it was hosted in centrally. Features were auto scaling, dynamic load balancing, context awareness, advanced analytics and workflows, and there was also one limitation for RPA 3.0, that is processing the unstructured data. We could do the processing of structured data, but we couldn't do the processing for unstructured data. That leads to the phase of RPA 4.0. So this is the current phase, and this is also known as cognitive RPA. The objective of cognitive RPA is to use artificial intelligence and machine learning inside the robots so that our robot can be more capable of doing things, and it can take the judgment and it can predict things as well. So here also the deployment were inside the cloud, VMs and SaaS, and the features are like processing of unstructured data that were missing in the phase 3, and the automation of tasks that involve judgment. So let's suppose we are delivering some products and we are having customer feedbacks in in the mails or in some text. So we need to know that whether the customers are happy, sad, or customers are angry. Those kind of sentiments need to be analyzed. So that's why we implemented artificial intelligence and machine learning inside our bot, so that our bot can take a judgment on based on the comments which the users provided. And the third one is predictive and prescriptive analytics. So let's suppose a financial organization is providing loans. So the financial institute needs to take a decision that whether a person to whom the bank or the financial institute has provided a loan or will provide a loan will default the loan or not. So that needs to be on the prediction, right? So that prediction can be done on the basis of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So that's why we introduced machine learning and artificial intelligence inside our robots, or we build the robot with these capabilities of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So let us take benefits of RPA. So for everything what we do, definitely we have some benefits. Because of that, we are using those things. So let us take a look on those. The benefits of RPA are reduces cost, means whenever we implement RPA at the initial phase, the cost is quite high, but on the over the period of time, it will reduce the cost of human labor, boost the productivity and morale. Let's suppose few people are working on the same thing daily basis, and these are in high volume and it are repetitive tasks, right? So the morale of those persons will be down because they are not doing any new things. So they are doing the repetitive task every day. So the repetitive task can be done by our bot, and those human labors can be replaced by those bots, so that the human labors can be allocated to some new task with some basic trainings or with some basic learnings, right? Now the third one is improve scalability. Let's suppose we have implemented any solution in the terms of RPA robot, and we need to enhance the scope of that robot. So just we need to retain that robot, means we need to write some extra code for that robot, and that extra processes or the change request things will also be delivered by the bot itself. Minimize errors. Whenever one particular task is done by some human, then there might be some chance that there is some human errors. But whenever we are replacing the human labor with robot, there is a minimal chance, or there is no chance of having the errors. So the robot minimize the errors what human could do. Next one is manage workload fluctuations. So let's suppose for a particular task, we are having set of people. Let's suppose 5 people are doing a particular task, and for some reason, 3 of them are on leave for a certain reason. So the workload will be distributed to the rest of the people, right? But if we just implement the robotic process automation for this particular process, then we can use those robots 24/7 basis. So there is no leave for the robot. So the workload fluctuation can be omitted from that particular process. Maximize ROI. ROI means return of investment. Let's suppose for a particular task, we are investing 100 rupees. It includes the cost of human labor and other relevant things as well, right? But let's suppose the human labor is taking 70 rupees for that, and the process is revenuing us to 150 rupees. So our profit is 50 rupees. But if we implement RPA, so we can implement one bot of cost, let's suppose for 20 rupees or 30 rupees. Okay, so for to replace those 5 people. Okay, And now let's suppose we are delivering the same product to our client or customer in 150 rupees only, but now the cost will be, let's suppose the RPA things will be covered under 70 or 60 rupees. So now we will be having a profit of 80 to 90 rupees. So the return of investment is higher. So it is maximizing the return of investment. Complete tasks in record time. So as I mentioned, so one particular task, if a human can take 1 hour, that particular task can be done by a software robot for in RPA within 5 to 10 minutes, right? So that task will be delivered within a minimal time. Protect sensitive data. Once we are handling some credentials, so for human it is natural that we memorize those credentials, right? But if we replicate this task with robots, then what will do, the robot will not memorize those sensitive data, because the sensitive data, let's suppose, are being stored into Windows credential or any credential management system which is in the cloud. So now the bot will take those credential as a protected data, and it will pass those data as a protected data only if it needs to be it needs to log into some portal or log into some web application. Then it will pass this data in the sensitive data only, means that in the form of protective data only. So these are the benefits of RPA, and there are many more benefits of RPA. So let us check what we can do with the RPA robot, means what a RPA bot can do. A RPA bot can do fill the forms, it can log into any web application or any portal or anything, and it can open any email, it can read email body, email subject line, even sender name, who are in the CC, all those terms, and it can also fetch the attachments from an email and read the attachments as well. It can read and write databases. It can extract data from files. It can make any kind of calculation. It can scrap any data from the web or any screen. It can connect to a system or application, any web application, all those stuffs. It can post anything to social media or any networking sites. It can move files and folders as well. And apart from these, it can do anything and everything which a human can do, means most of the things can be done with a RPA robot. Let us check the RPA market trends. As per precedent research, in the year 2022, RPA has a market size of 2.09 billion USD. But if you see the graph, then we can check that every year it is increasing, and as per the prediction of precedent research, it will cross 23.9 billion USD in the year of 2030. Means we can imagine how big the RPA market will be in 2030, and it is going to be big only. RPA tools and leaders in the market. So we have taken Magic Quadrant from Gartner. Here Gartner has mentioned RPA leaders, RPA visionaries, RPA niche players, and RPA challengers. RPA leaders are those who are leading in the RPA market. RPA visionaries are those who are having some great vision in the RPA market. Niche players are those who are doing RPA things in a specific domain only, or we can say that in a specific form of RPA has been delivered by these niche players. And challengers are those who are having potential and can challenge the RPA markets. So here in the leaders, it has mentioned UiPath, SS&C Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, Microsoft niche as leaders, and keeping UiPath on the top of the leaders list. For visionaries, it is mentioning like Pegasystems, Appian, SAP, Salesforce, etc. For niche players, it is mentioning Cyclone Robotics, Nintex, IBM, Lei, Samsung, SDC. And for challengers, it has mentioned only WorkFusion. and this report has been generated in July 2022. Let us have a look on the RPA job market. If we are in the market of RPA, there are several kind of jobs for the RPA professionals, like RPA developer who develops the RPA processes, RPA consultant. Consultant are those kind of people who develops RPA process as well consult to the client that what should be good, what shouldn't be good. So those kind of stuff means consultancy also done by RPA consultant. RPA administrator. RPA administrator are those persons who are having some insights on what should be the best things which are required to run a bot smoothly on the particular system, and these persons also monitor the RPA robot every day basis, and if there is any malfunction, these persons report to the support staffs. RPA business analyst. RPA business analyst is that person who is having a conversation to the client side to just pass the data to the developers or the solution design team or the developers team. Means we can say the RPA business analyst are the bridge between the client side and the development side. RPA technical lead. RPA technical lead is that person who is having good knowledge on RPA and is leading a technical team of developers. RPA engineer is a similar kind of term like RPA developer. It's kind of similar works has been allocated to RPA engineer and RPA developer as well. RPA solution senior developer. RPA solution senior developer are those who are having good insights on RPA and having a good year of experience in developing the RPA solution, and these people work as a RPA developer itself. RPA solution architect. RPA solution architect is the base in this RPA solution delivery, because RPA solution architect is having much better experience in the team in kind of solution design, having the knowledge what should be good, what should be the best practice, and how to design the bot so that the bot can result in a suitable manner or the client's expectations will be filled by the design. RPA business use cases. If we talk about RPA business use cases, we can consider that RPA can be implemented in any and every field of business. So if we talk about something like customer services, accounting, financial services, healthcare, human resources, supply chain management, and we can implement RPA in any and every field in which human labors are there and there are repetitive rule-based tasks. And as we are now in RPA 4.0, so we can also do some unstructured data processing as well. So the scope of RPA is increasing nowadays. Selection of a process for RPA. So let us look the suitable candidates for RPA. So if the process is rule based, that is a perfect candidate for RPA. If the transaction volume is very high, that is also a good candidate for RPA. Low exception means if the exception for the particular process is very low, then it is a suitable candidate for RPA. Stable and well-defined process. Let's suppose a process which is very stable and there is not any fluctuation in process definition, or the process is the sub processes of under that particular process is very well defined, then that is also a perfect candidate for RPA. Low system change. So if the system or the web, let's suppose for any web application, any software application, or any portal, the UI interface and that kind of stuffs are not changing, so these change are very low or null, then this is also a proper candidate for RPA. Any structured data and readable electronic inputs means any table kind of thing, any electronic input means any digital document, those are a suitable candidate for RPA. But as I mentioned, we are in the phase of RPA 4.0, so any unstructured data and any non-electronic inputs, let's suppose any scanned PDF. So those kind of stuffs are also in the scope of RPA nowadays. So now let's suppose we are having multiple processes, but we don't know that what process should go first for RPA. So for that we need to rank those processes, right? So for that we need to have a table, and we can write the RPA parameters as I have written, like rule-based, high transaction volume, that these are mentioned in the previous slide as well, and the process name as well. So process name has been mentioned here, and the RPA parameters have been mentioned over here. And the user or the process team need to rank or give the score of a particular process based on a parameter, right? So let us take for rule based. In a scale of 10, we are giving a rating of 8 for process 1. For process 2, we are giving a rating of 9. For process 3, we are giving a rating of 8. And for every parameter, we need to give a score to that particular process. Now, after giving the score, we will be having a particular total, right? So based on the total, the highest number should be go first for RPA. Here we can see the process 3 is having 48. So process 3 should be automated first. This is how we can determine that what process should be the first candidate for RPA. Now, the last thing, RPA life cycle. So RPA life cycle is similar to any software development life cycle. So it includes the validation and concept. Means if we need to go for any RPA process, so then we need to check the concept that whether it should go for any RPA development or not, and we need to have a proof of concept, that is the POC. Once the POC is passed, now we need to plan accordingly that what should be the best way of doing things and what should be the prerequisite. Those kind of things are done in the planning stage. In the second stage, we will analyze that what should be done where, and this kind of analysis will be done by the developers, by the BA, and by the solution architect, obviously. Number 3 step is design. Design will be done by the solution architect, that the best way possible design should be done for the RPA development. Once the design is ready, we will be going for implementation step, will be done by the developers. And once the developer did the implementation thing, we will be going for testing and integration. Means here the testing team will test all the scenarios which can be a possible risk, which can be a good way scenario, or which can be a potential risk. So those kind of stuffs will be validated by the testing team, and this will be going with the UAT phase. Then if the testing is done properly and it's ready to go for the next step, then we will go for deployment and maintenance step. In this step, we will deploy it into a centralized portal, or let's suppose for UiPath we have orchestrator. So those kind of stuffs will be done, and the maintenance or hypercare team will maintain these things. And these are the basic steps of any RPA life cycle, but this can be done with some specific life cycle models like waterfall model, agile model, etc. Please don't forget to subscribe LearnerBuddy to learn together with LearnerBuddy. Thank you.